Long ago, in a land far beyond the mountains and rivers, this land was filled with green forests, clear rivers, and colorful flowers that bloomed all year round. Birds sang sweet songs in the morning, and children laughed and played in the fields. The people of Durham were happy and hardworking. They were farmers, blacksmiths, traders, and healers. Everyone had a role to play in the kingdom. They respected each other and helped one another in times of need. But the true reason for their peace was their wise king and queen. King Seifu and Queen Hadia were loved by all. They ruled with kindness, fairness, and wisdom. They listened to their people and made sure no one went hungry or was treated unfairly. They believed that justice and love were more powerful than swords and shields. The king and queen had one child, a beautiful baby girl named Alima. From the moment she was born, the sun seemed to shine brighter, and a soft wind carried her name through the land. Alima meant wise one, and many believed it was the perfect name for her. As she grew, everyone noticed there was something special about her. Even as a small child, she asked deep questions like, "Why do some people lie?" Or "Why do people cry when they are alone?" Her eyes were full of wonder, and her heart was full of love. She treated animals like friends and listened carefully when adults spoke. She never shouted, never hit anyone, and always helped her maids and guards with small things like handing them food or bringing water. Even the elderly said, "This child is not ordinary. She has an old soul." Alima loved stories. She would sit under the baobab tree in the palace garden and ask the royal storyteller, old Noyu, to tell her stories about past queens, magical lands, and the spirits of the wind. She would listen with wide eyes and a quiet smile. "Do you think magic is real?" she asked him one day. Old Noyu chuckled and said, "Magic is not always what you see in stories. Sometimes magic is the gift of kindness, the power to forgive, or the courage to speak the truth." Alima nodded, but deep inside, she believed there was more. She often looked up at the sky at night and whispered, "If there is magic in the world, I hope it finds me." What she didn't know was that something beyond her imagination was already watching her. A presence old and powerful was waiting for the right moment to enter her life. A time would soon come when her world would change forever. But for now, Princess Alima was just a thoughtful girl in a peaceful land. Yet, even in the most peaceful places, trouble can grow like weeds in a garden. And so, the story of Princess Alima, the mind reader, the seeker of truth, and the light of Durham was about to begin. Princess Alima grew up surrounded by love, wisdom, and beauty. The palace was not just a place of gold and marbled and marble. It was a home filled with laughter, music, and learning. Her parents, King Seifu and Queen Hadia, believed that children should be raised with patience and care, not just rules and discipline. Each morning, Alima would wake to the soft sound of drums calling the sun into the sky. Her maid Ezina would greet her with a smile and help her dress in colorful robes. But Alima was no ordinary princess. She didn't care much for jewels or golden slippers. What she loved most was walking barefoot in the gardens, where she could feel the earth beneath her toes. Princess Azana would say gently, "The court is waiting. You can't go barefoot." Alima would laugh, "But how can I know the land if I don't touch it?" Even the palace guards smiled at her strange yet thoughtful ways. She had lessons every day, reading, writing, history, music, and sword training. Her favorite lesson was with the old scholar, Master Obi, who taught her about ancient wisdom and justice. One day, Master Obi said, "Alima, what do you think justice is?" She thought for a while before answering. "Justice is when everyone is treated the same, no matter if they are rich or poor." "Very good," said Master Obi. "But remember, justice is not always about punishment. Sometimes, justice is about understanding why a person did wrong." Alima never forgot those words. Despite her royal blood, Alima made friends with the palace workers. She often played with the cook's son, Tono, and the stable girl, Lima, while other royals would have frowned on mixing with commoners. Alima believed that everyone had something to teach her. One afternoon, she was walking near the village market with her guards when she saw a boy crying. His hands were tied, and an angry trader was shouting at him. "He tried to steal from me," the man yelled. "He must be punished." Alima stepped forward. "Wait. Let the boy speak." The trader frowned but stepped aside. "I was hungry," the boy said. "I haven't eaten in 2 days. My sister is sick." Alima turned to the trader. "Would you rather feed him and earn his thanks, or punish him and earn his fear?" The man was silent. Alima handed the boy a small coin. "Go buy food, and next time ask for help. This kingdom has kind hearts." That day, whispers about the young princess spread through the village. People said, "She is just a child, yet she carries the wisdom of 10 elders." Even her parents were amazed. "She sees things that others do not," Queen Hadia said. "Yes," the king replied. "It is as if the spirits of old have chosen her for something great." As the seasons passed, Alima began having strange dreams. In one dream, she stood in a misty forest, and a voice whispered her name. In another, she saw a pair of glowing eyes watching her from the sky. The dreams were never scary, but they felt powerful, like someone was calling to her from far away. "Mother," she asked one morning, "do dreams mean anything?" Queen Hadia smiled softly. "Sometimes. Dreams are just stories, but other times, they are messages from the spirit world. You must pay attention." Alima began keeping a dream journal, writing down every detail she could remember. Over time, one dream came again, and again an old woman standing under a tree, holding a bowl of water. Her eyes were like silver, and her voice echoed like the wind. "Come to me," she would say, "when the moon is full." Alima didn't understand it then, but the time would come sooner than anyone thought, when the dream would become real, and the gift that would change her life forever would finally awaken. The strange dream. The moon hung full and bright in the sky, casting a silver light over the kingdom of Darum. It was a quiet night. The palace was still, and even the birds had gone to sleep. Inside her royal chamber, Princess Alima was restless. She turned on her soft bed, the silk sheets cool against her skin. Her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling. She didn't know why, but something in her heart was stirring like a drumbeat she could not hear but could feel deep inside her. Finally, sleep came like a whisper. But this sleep was no ordinary rest. As soon as she closed her eyes, the dream began. She found herself standing in a thick forest. The trees were tall and wide, their branches weaving together above her like a roof. Soft mist covered the ground. It was quiet, so quiet that she could hear the sound of her own breathing. She looked down. She was barefoot, wearing a simple white dress. "Where am I?" she whispered. Then, from behind the trees, a soft glow appeared. The mist moved as if pushed by invisible hands. And there, under a large tree with twisted roots, stood an old woman. She had silver white hair, long and flowing like a river. Her eyes glowed like 2 moons, and in her hands she held a wooden bowl filled with water that shimmered like stars. Alima stepped forward. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice echoing in the still air. "I have many names," the old woman replied, her voice deep and calm. "But tonight you may call me Naya." "What is this place?" "This is the place between worlds, the land of dreams, where truth sleeps beneath silence." Alima felt no fear. In fact, she felt strangely safe. "Why do I keep seeing you in my dreams?" she asked. "Because your time has come," Naya said. "You were born with a question in your heart, and now the answer will be given." Alima tilted her head. "What answer?" Naya stepped closer. The bowl in her hand shimmered brighter. "There is a gift inside you," she said. "A gift your spirit was chosen to carry long before you were born. But gifts of power cannot live in silence. They must be awakened. Awakened? Yes. Look into the water. Alima peered into the bowl. At first, all she saw was her reflection. But then the water rippled and she began to see things. A woman crying while hiding a secret. A man smiling while planning a lie. A child feeling fear but pretending to be strong. And more thoughts, feelings and truths that lay hidden beneath faces. She stepped back. I can see their thoughts, sir. Naya nodded. You can hear their minds, the voice behind their voice. The truth behind their tongue. But how? This is your gift, child. You are a mind reader. But this power is not for games. It is not for pride. It is for justice, for truth, for mercy. Alima stood still, taking in the words. Will I always have this gift? Yes, said Naya. It will grow as you grow. And with great power comes great burden. People will fear you. Others will want to use you. But if your heart stays pure, no darkness can overcome you. Alima looked into the woman's eyes. Why me? Because you asked, Naya said gently. As a child, you looked up at the stars and whispered, if there is magic in the world, I hope it finds me. Alima's eyes widened. She had forgotten those words. Naya smiled. The world hears those who speak with a true heart. Suddenly, the forest grew darker. The wind blew louder. The mist trapped around her ankles. Naya stepped back into the shadows. Wait, Alima cried. What do I do next? The old woman's voice echoed one last time. Use your gift to bring justice. And never stop listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart. And then she woke up. Alima sat up in bed, breathing fast. Her hands trembled. The moonlight shone through her window, just like in the dream. Everything felt real. She got out of bed and walked to the mirror. Her face looked the same, but something inside her had changed. She could feel it. Something had awakened. And her journey was only just beginning. Discovering the power. The morning after the dream, everything in the palace looked the same, but nothing felt the same to Alima. She walked through the halls in silence, her thoughts spinning. Servants greeted her as they passed. She smiled politely, but her mind was somewhere else. Could that dream have been real? Could she really read minds? At breakfast, her parents noticed her quiet mood. You're unusually silent today, daughter, said King Seifu. Did you not sleep well? Asked Queen Hadia. Alima hesitated. I had a dream. The Queen smiled. Another one. Alima nodded. But this one was different. It felt like a message. The King raised an eyebrow. A message from whom? I'm not sure, but I think I've been given a gift. King Seifu and Queen had exchanged a glance but said nothing more. They had long believed their daughter was special. Maybe now the belief was unfolding into truth. Later that day, Alima went to the palace garden. She sat under her favorite baobab tree and closed her eyes, remembering the dream. You can hear their minds, the voice behind their voice. She opened her eyes and looked around. A maid was sweeping nearby. Alima focused on her, not with her eyes, but with her heart. She slowed her breathing. She listened and not to the sound, but to the silence beneath it. And then she heard it. A voice soft and trembling, not coming from the maid's mouth but from inside her. I hope he's safe. He promised he would return by now. Please let nothing happen to him. Alima's eyes widened. She stood up and walked gently to the woman. Is your husband still away at sea? She asked. The maid dropped her broom in surprise. Why, yes, princess. How did you know? Alima smiled kindly. He'll be safe. The winds will carry him home soon. The maid blinked, stunned. She tried to speak, but no words came. She simply bowed low, tears in her eyes. Alima walked on, heart pounding. It's real, she thought. The gift is real. That night, she decided to test it again. She went to the palace kitchen. where the cooks were busy preparing dinner. She sat quietly in the corner, pretending to read, but inside, she was listening deeply. One cook was laughing with the others, but in her mind, Alima heard, "I hope they don't notice I dropped the king's spice jar. I'll replace it tomorrow." Another cook was humming, but her thoughts said, "Tomorrow is my mother's birthday. I'll ask for a little extra coin to buy her something sweet." Alima felt no fear, only wonder. The minds around her were full of secrets, worries, hopes, and love. She wasn't reading them like a book, no. She was feeling them, like emotions rising in a wave. That night in bed, she whispered, "Thank you, Naya." But soon, she learned that the gift was not only for comfort. It was also for truth. The next day, a royal guard named Bocco was brought before the king. A nobleman had accused him of stealing a gold ring. "I did not steal it," Bocco said. "I swear by the spirits of the land." The nobleman pointed. "He was the only one near my chambers. It must be him." The king looked troubled. "We have no proof either way, and justice must be served." Alima stepped forward. "May I speak, father?" King Seifu nodded. "Go on." She walked toward Bocco and stood quietly. She closed her eyes. Then she listened, and not to his voice but to his spirit. "I would never steal. I saw a servant pick up something shiny. I thought it was trash, but I should have spoken up." She opened her eyes. "Father," she said, "Bocco is not lying. He saw a servant take the ring, thinking it was rubbish. He was too afraid to speak." The nobleman turned red. "That's impossible. How could she know?" King Seifu raised a hand. "Bring the servant." The servant was found, and just as Alima had said, he had taken the ring without knowing its value. He returned it immediately. The court was stunned. The whispers began. How did she know? Is it magic? Can she hear our thoughts? Alima stood tall. She did not smile. She only said, "Justice must come from truth, not just words." That day, people began to speak of her differently, not just as a kind princess, but as a girl who sees what others cannot. As the gift grew stronger, so did the burden. Alima began to feel everything: joy, fear, sadness, anger, so much that it overwhelmed her at times. She started avoiding crowds. She needed time to learn how to control it. But deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning. There would be more trials ahead, more lies to uncover, more hearts to heal. And one day, her gift would not just help the palace, it would save the entire kingdom. Fear and wonder. In the days that followed, the news of Alima's mysterious power spread like fire across Durham. People whispered in the markets. "She hears your thoughts," they say. Others warned, "Don't lie near her. She'll know." Some were amazed, a gift from the spirits. But some were afraid. What kind of child can enter your mind? Even in the palace, the change was felt. Some servants began to avoid her gaze. Others bowed lower, stayed quieter, or crossed themselves when she passed. Alima noticed. She felt it all. Not just what people said, but what they felt. She's not normal. What if she reads my secrets? Should we fear her or follow her? It made her heart heavy. She did not want people to fear her. She only wanted to help. But now, every glance carried a question. Every silence a hidden thought. One afternoon, she sat in the palace garden, arms wrapped around her knees, her eyes filled with tears. Her childhood friend, Tono the cook's son, found her there. "Why are you crying?" he asked, sitting beside her. Alima wiped her face. "People are afraid of me. They treat me like I'm something strange." Tono looked at her carefully. "Well, you are strange." Alima blinked. "But in the best way," he added quickly with a grin. "You've always been different. Even before this mind thing. You ask the kind of questions that make people uncomfortable." She frowned. "That's not a good thing." "Yes, it is," he said. "The truth is uncomfortable, but we need it. She looked at him. Aren't you scared of me? No, Tono said, shaking his head. Because I don't hide anything from you. I never did. Alima smiled through her tears. You're a good friend. And you're a strange one, he said, but I like you that way. That night, Alima began writing in her journal again. But this time, it wasn't just about dreams. It was about people, what they thought, what they feared, what they loved but could not say. She wrote, "The world is full of hidden thoughts. People speak with smiles but cry inside. I hear the pain behind pride, the guilt behind anger, the truth behind silence. This gift is not easy, but I must use it with care." As she trained herself to listen more deeply, she began learning how to control the flow of thoughts. She could tone it down like soft music or focus it like a beam of light. With time, she could choose whose mind she entered and how deeply she listened. But even as she gained control, new problems rose. One day, Queen Hadia called her into the private chamber. "A messenger has arrived," her mother said. "There's trouble in the western village." Alima listened carefully. "There's been a dispute," the Queen continued. "A man has been accused of poisoning a water well. The people want him punished." "Was there proof?" Alima asked. "No," the Queen said. "But fear spreads fast. The villagers are angry." "I want to go," Alima said. The Queen paused. "It may be dangerous." "I need to go," Alima said. "My gift. It's not meant to be hidden inside the palace." The Queen looked at her, pride in her eyes. "Then you must go with protection." So the next morning, Alima set out with 2 royal guards and Tono, who refused to stay behind. "You'll need someone to carry your journal," he joked. When they arrived in the village, the air was tense. People stood in angry clusters. A man with tired eyes sat tied to a tree, surrounded by guards. Alima stepped forward. "I am Princess Lima," she said calmly. "Let me speak with him." The villagers hesitated, whispering. Then the elder stepped forward. "Let her try." Alima knelt before the man. "Did you poison the well?" she asked softly. The man shook his head. "No, princess. I would never. My own family drinks from it." She closed her eyes and reached out not with her hands, but with her mind. "I did nothing. But I saw my neighbor pouring something strange into the water late at night. I was afraid to speak. He has power here. He'll hurt my family." Alima stood. "This man is innocent," she said. "He saw the real one who did it but was afraid to speak." "Lies," someone shouted. "No," Alima said calmly. "Bring his neighbor forward." Reluctantly, they did. Alima looked into his eyes. The man avoided her gaze. She stepped closer, then said quietly, "You used Doyle ash to ruin the well, hoping to scare the village into giving you control over the land near the river. You thought no one would find out." The man gasped. How did you?" The villagers turned to him, eyes wide. Alima raised her hand. "Let no one be judged by fear or rumor. Truth must guide us." The elder bowed. "You carry the gift of justice, princess. We thank you." As the villagers freed the innocent man, Tono whispered to her, "You're starting to sound like a queen." Alima smiled faintly. "I'm only trying to be a servant of truth." But deep down, she knew this was only the beginning of her purpose. And while some would celebrate her, others in the shadows would begin to fear her power. The shadow that watches. The sun had begun to set as Alima and her group returned to the palace. The golden light made the towers glow. But in her heart, Alima felt a strange chill. The village had welcomed her, yes. Her gift had saved a man, brought truth, and restored peace. But not everyone had rejoiced. As they left, she had seen one man standing apart from the crowd. His face was hidden beneath a hood, and his thoughts had been empty. Too empty, like silence that was forced, closed, protected. It wasn't fear or it was resistance. He knows how to hide his mind, she thought. That night, sleep came slow. Her dreams were quiet for once. No Naya, no forest. Only darkness and a faint sense of being watched. The next morning, the palace was full of chatter. The king was holding a council meeting, and Alima was asked to attend. Inside the grand hall, nobles from different corners of Durham had gathered. They sat in rows, their robes colourful, their faces painted with expressions of importance. King Seyful rose. There have been disturbances across our land, he said. False accusations, fear, confusion, but my daughter, Princess Alima, has shown us a new way, a way of truth. Many in the room nodded. But we must also be cautious, the king added. This gift she carries is powerful, and power attracts danger. As he spoke, Alima scanned the room. Most minds were curious, admiring, respectful. But then she felt it, a coldness. Not from the words, but from a mind. A single noble sat still in the back row. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a cloak too heavy for the warm room. His name, whispered between tongues, was Lord Sadir, an advisor from the far eastern border. And when Alima reached out to his thoughts, nothing. It was as though he was made of stone. But not natural silence, this was something deliberate. His mind was locked. She narrowed her eyes. Later, in the hallway, she saw him again. He stood beside a pillar, looking out into the gardens. His hands were folded, but his stance was tense like a coiled snake. Alima walked past, slow and steady. As she passed him, he spoke without turning. Curious skill you have, princess. Reading minds, breaking secrets. She paused. I use it for justice, she said. He turned his head slightly, revealing a faint smirk. Justice, yes. But truth is a double-edged sword. When you reveal one person's lie, you threaten another's mask. Some masks are dangerous to remove. Alima met his gaze. Only those who have something to hide fear the light. Sadir chuckled softly. And only those who shine it without wisdom are blinded by their own flame. Then he turned and walked away. Alima stood still, heart pounding. That man knew things, dangerous things. And worse, he knew how to block her gift. Back in her room, she opened her journal and wrote, There are people in this world who wear silence like armor. They do not fear truth, they plan against it. I must be careful. Some shadows walk with purpose. In the weeks that followed, strange things began happening. A scroll was stolen from the palace library, one that spoke of ancient mind readers. A guard near the treasury fell ill after drinking from a flask someone left in his quarters. A royal pigeon, sent to deliver messages to the northern watchtower, disappeared without a trace. Each event seemed small, but together they whispered a single truth. Someone was working in secret. One night, Alima returned to her chamber to find her door slightly open. Her heart jumped. She stepped inside, careful and quiet. Nothing looked disturbed until she checked her journal. The bookmark had been moved. She flipped to the last page she'd written. A note had been left inside, written in bold red ink. Not all minds are meant to be read. Stay silent, stay safe, or you'll see what real fear feels like. She froze. It wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. She ran to her parents' room and showed them the message. The king's face darkened. Who would dare enter the princess's chamber uninvited? Queen Hadia took her hand. You're not safe, Alima. We must protect you. But Alima stood firm. No, I will not hide. Whoever sent this note fears what I might discover. That means I must press on. The king looked at her, his daughter, barely a teenager, standing like a warrior. Then we will increase your guards. You may be brave, but you're not alone. That night, Alima lay awake, staring at the ceiling. A new chapter of her journey had begun. She was no longer just a girl with a gift. She was a threat to the hidden powers of the kingdom. And in the shadows, something or someone was watching, waiting, planning.
The call to the people. By sunrise, the message was ready. Alima stood at her window, looking over the city of Daram. It stretched wide and golden beneath the morning light, rooftops glowing like fire-touched stone. The river sparkled in the distance, and the markets had just begun to stir. She held the scroll tightly in her hand. Today I speak not as a princess, she thought, but as a seeker of truth. The scroll she had written overnight was bold, heartfelt and unfiltered. It spoke of the secret chamber, the shadow court, the burned scrolls, the prophecy, and the threat they all faced if silence won. It was the most dangerous thing she had ever written. Alima knew that once her message reached the people, there would be no turning back. She dressed in simple robes, not the silks of a royal, but the soft cotton of a commoner. She tied her hair in a single braid, tucked the scroll into her pouch, and slipped out of the palace with Tano by her side. They moved quietly through back paths, avoiding the eyes of the palace guards loyal to Zadir. By midday, they reached the great square in the heart of the city. It was market day. Crowds had gathered, merchants, travelers, beggars, elders, children, the perfect moment. Alima climbed onto an old stone fountain. Tano stood beside her and struck a small gong 3 times. Gong, gong, gong. The sound echoed across the square. Heads turned. A hush followed. Then Alima unrolled the scroll, and in a loud, clear voice she began to read. People of Daram, I come not as a princess, but as a witness. I have seen the truths buried beneath this palace. I have read the words they tried to burn. There are those among us who walk in shadows, not to protect you, but to control you. They fear what I can see, they fear what you might learn. But I believe you deserve the truth. The crowd stirred, people edged closer. Some gasped, some frowned, some listened, still and silent. She continued, they tried to silence me, they tried to end me. But I will not stop. This is not about power, it is about the right to know, to speak, to live without fear. They call themselves noble, but nobility does not hide behind threats. It does not erase history, it does not stab in the night. My name is Alima. I was born with a gift to read minds, to see what others hide. And I now share this gift with you. The gift of truth. When she finished, silence fell again. Then clapping. A woman near the front stepped forward and bowed. Then a man raised his hand and shouted, Long live Princess Alima. The crowd erupted, applause, chants. Raised fists, a wave of voices spread the name, Alima. Alima, the moon mark, the truth seeker. But just as the square reached a peak of noise, a horn blew. From the far end of the square, palace guards in red armor began marching forward. Tano grabbed her hand. We have to move now. Alima looked at the crowd. If I run, they'll say I was lying. You won't be able to speak if they take you, he snapped. The crowd saw the guards too, and something surprising happened. They closed ranks around her. Merchants pushed their carts to block the road. Children ran interference, shouting and scattering in all directions. Elders stepped in front of the guards and demanded to know their business. Alima and Tano slipped into an alley while the people defended her. They ran through the lower quarter, across a bridge, into the ruins of an old granary once destroyed in a flood. There they caught their breaths. We did it, Tano gasped. You did it, they heard you. Alima nodded, her heart pounded, her legs ached. But something deep inside her burned stronger than ever. Hope. That night, the square buzzed with rumors. Scroll makers began copying her message by hand. Travelers carried it to neighboring towns. Some said the moon mark had risen. Others said the girl who reads minds had declared war on the throne. None of them knew the full truth, but all of them were awake now. And in a dark room in the palace, Lord Zadir stared at the flames in his fireplace, his jaw clenched tight. She's gone too far, he muttered. Beside him, a hooded figure emerged from the shadows. She's a child, the figure rasped. She will fall, as others did before her. Zadir didn't answer. His eyes were filled with fury, but also with something else, fear. Because for the first time, the people were no longer whispering. They were listening, and the sound of truth was too loud to silence. The rising flame. The moon that night was full, bright, bold, unafraid. Princess Alima stood atop an old watchtower outside the city, looking down at the glimmering lanterns in the streets. Below, people moved quietly but with purpose. The city of Daram was no longer asleep. They're rising, she said softly. Tano handed her a cup of warm hibiscus tea. They're not just rising, he said with a grin. They're burning. He wasn't wrong. Since Alima's speech in the square, Word had spread like wildfire. In villages beyond the river. In desert towns, even across the sea, people were talking. Whispering her name, painting her moonmark symbol on doors and temples, sharing her stories. But with fire comes danger. The Shadow Court had not stayed silent. Reports came in of missing farmers, broken printing presses, scroll makers arrested for treason. The city gates were now heavily guarded. Curfews were set, search patrols increased. And then a message came, one that struck Alima like a dagger to the heart. Her childhood tutor, Madame Temb, had been taken. The same woman who had taught her how to read, how to listen, how to question. A gentle soul, the one who first told her. The truth is not always safe, but it is always needed. She had vanished the day after distributing Alima's message in her district. Alima's breath caught when she read the report. They're punishing those closest to me, she said. Tano lowered his head. They're trying to break you. She clenched her fists. They don't know me then. But inside, her heart ached. She had always thought this war would be about words. Not people, but now it was personal. That night, Alima called for a gathering. She and Tano moved to an abandoned warehouse at the edge of the city, once a grain storage hall, now filled with whispers and determination. People arrived in ones and twos. A blacksmith, a healer, a group of young musicians. An old woman with fire in her eyes. Even two royal guards who had secretly switched sides. They called themselves the Circle of Light. And Alima stood at the center. We do not fight with swords. She told them, we fight with truth. With courage and with unity. But we must also protect our people, especially those who cannot protect themselves. Plans were made that night. Safe routes through the city. Hidden places for printing messages. Signals to warn of patrols. And above all, rescue missions. Because Madame Temb wasn't the only one missing. Alima took a deep breath. I will lead the first mission, she said. Gasps filled the room. You're the voice of the people. A healer warned, if you're caught, then they silence more than just me. She said firmly, which is exactly why I won't be caught. 2 nights later, cloaked in the black of night, Alima, Tano, and 3 others moved through the secret tunnels below the palace, once used for ancient escape routes. Now repurposed by the Circle. They had learned where Madame Temb was being held, Fort Ibarra, a former army post turned secret prison. Most didn't know it even existed, but Alima had seen it, in the mind of a captured court informant who had unknowingly revealed it when she passed by him in the market. Your mind told me what your lips never did. As they reached the underground exit near the fort's southern wall, Alima turned to the group. No killing, she reminded them. We are not like them. Tano nodded, but a little sleep dust spell. Alima smirked, that's fair. The infiltration was swift. 2 guards were lulled to sleep with a powder blend from the healer's satchel. A third was distracted by a song the musicians had composed. A haunting lullaby played on a bone flute outside the gate. Inside, Alima found Madame Temb, tired, bruised, but alive. My brave girl, Temb whispered. Tears in her eyes, you found me. You taught me how. Alima replied. They escaped before dawn, leaving behind only a moonmark painted in glowing dust on the prison wall. You may cage a voice, it read, but never the truth it carries. By sunrise, the city buzzed again. The news of Temb's rescue spread faster than ever before. People cheered, temple bells rang. Even the elders, who had once warned Alima to stay quiet, now stood with her. The Circle of Light grew in number and in courage. But far in the shadows of the palace, Lord Zadir stood in a dark chamber before 6 cloaked figures. One of them, the same old woman from Alima's dream, stood still as stone. She is not just a threat, Zadir hissed. She is a prophecy walking. The old woman raised her voice, dry and deep. She is the flame, and if the flame is not put out, her voice cracked like thunder. It will burn the shadow to ash.